Hi, everyone. Valerie Williams here. Welcome back to the Converge With Us podcast. Today, I thought it would be helpful to talk a little bit about how leaders can go about developing a communications plan whenever something happens in society, whenever there's a moment of social unrest or uncertainty. We're seeing a lot of requests from our clients and others around how do we think through when to say something, how to say something, how to support employees during times of social unrest. So I thought it would be helpful to talk through a few things to consider when you're developing a communications plan on how to respond when things are happening in society. There's so much happening. It's 2022 currently, so we're still dealing with a looming war. We have a pandemic that is looming, and then we have a lot of attack on human rights happening in our trans community. And so I thought it would be helpful to talk through a few things to consider again when you're trying to think through how do we support our employees, support others in our ecosystem during moments of social unrest, okay? So the first thing to consider is really a high level purpose. I think there is becoming an increasingly amount of expectation for leaders, executives, people that lead organizations to take a stance on some of these social issues, right? For this point to consider, we want our leaders to think about purpose over profit. Okay, you spend a lot of times, particularly in our corporate environments and our capitalistic structures, thinking about profit for our business, for our overall company. And obviously that's important, but in moments like this, we want to think about some high level purpose that you want to accomplish as well. Folks, candidates are looking for companies to be more purpose driven. A lot of investors are looking for purpose over profit as well, in addition to profit as well, I should say. So it's important for you to consider a high level purpose around this work. And so some places to start when you're thinking about high level purpose. We always like you to revisit your DEI why. I've talked about that extensively. It's important for us to think about our case for thinking about this work. Is it an emotional case, how our employees feel, how our clients feel, our customers feel when they engage with us? We want to think about our purpose. So a good place to start again is your DEI why. Perhaps your organizational values, if you spend some time thinking about how you want to go about doing your work. These are good places to think about when you're thinking about how to develop a high level purpose around these social issues, okay? This will help you take a stance whenever a specific social issue comes through. This will help you develop a perspective and take a stance, okay? So the first thing to consider is really around your purpose. Think through purpose really critically, high level, to give you a North Star to think about how to respond when things happen. Okay, the second consideration is to vet when you need to say something, okay? Your purpose will help you do this. Part of the reason we want you to think high level first is that it will allow you to make some of these more operational decisions. Not every issue warrants a response, right? Do you have employees or customers in Russia? Okay, then you need to say something about the war. But some issues, you may not need to respond to if it's not relevant for your business, if it's not relevant to your employees. Some issues you do not have to take a stance. However, some issues you cannot stay neutral on, you cannot stay silent on. You can think of any kind of business case or really employee case to take a stance on these issues. It's important for you to actually take a perspective and to take a stance, okay? So remember that you're not going to have to respond to everything, but developing that purpose will help you vet when you need to say something. Okay? The third thing I want you all to consider when you're trying to develop a communications plan and a plan of support during moments of social unrest is to accept the fallout, right? Once you take a stance, once you take a perspective, not everyone is going to agree with you on your stance, and that's okay. You may lose some employees, you may lose some customers, but you don't want to lose customers or employees or anything as a result of not taking a stance, as a result of trying to stay neutral, right? People are expecting you to have some ability to speak through these issues as your organizational leaders. And so you want to just remember that not everyone is going to agree with you, and you're going to have to accept some fallout from stakeholders and others that may not agree with your stance. Okay, the fourth thing to consider, especially when you're developing a plan of action. So it's one thing to communicate and to develop a communications plan. It's another thing to start taking some actions. And when you do decide to take some actions, you want to make sure that you're centering your support around the communities that are impacted. We have to remember that some people within that community will want to help develop a plan and some won't. And that's okay. It's their prerogative to be able to support you and the organization through these things. And some, again, will want to lean into that support and some others will not. And so what we do want to make sure though is that when we're developing a plan, is that the support that we are giving out is for those communities that are impacted. There is a space for allies as well in this space. And, we want to make sure that in thinking through how to center the support with the communities impacted, that you also can secondarily support allies, but it is a secondary community to support within those times. And there will be times when sometimes allies should step up and help and move forward and help things move forward for those impacted communities. And then there are some moments where allies should step back. And so we want to, again, remember that we're supporting the communities that are impacted first. Okay, the final thing to consider is to give yourself grace for mistakes. Okay, a key component for us for inclusive leadership and for leaders sort of stepping into these waters that may be a little bit muddy, a little bit cloudy, is to be able to acknowledge when you make a mistake and to learn from your mistakes. Okay? This type of work, really social change, anything around trying to think through how to change the status quo and to think about improving lives of people that are impacted by various social conditions. This work takes a lot of courage, and you're often bad at something before you get good at it. And so you will make mistakes, you will have some miscommunications, and you may have some setbacks, but you don't want that to be the reason why you don't activate and you don't step up to do this work. Okay? So just to run down that list again, when you're trying to develop an action plan or trying to develop a communications plan during moments of social unrest and uncertainty, let's go through our consideration checklist. First, think about that purpose over profit orientation. Okay, what is the high level purpose? What are you trying to accomplish with these moments of support, these moments of communication? Think high level around your purpose. Two, vet when you say something. Not everything requires a response, but there are some things that you will not be able to remain neutral on. The third consideration, accept your fallout. Okay, not everyone's going to agree. That's okay. Four, consider supporting the communities impacting before considering supporting your allies. And five, give yourself grace for mistakes. Okay, so hopefully this is helpful. This may seem a little high level, a little bit abstract. We have a resource for you to think about a direct communication out to your employees that we'll share with you as well. And we're always here to help you think about the specific cases for your organizations. We actively work on this with our clients now of how to authentically communicate and support communities during social unrest. So reach out to us, convergefirm.com. As always, subscribe to our podcast if you haven't. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram, Converge Firm. We're here to help, so feel free to reach out. Okay, until next time, we'll see you soon.